Thank you for joining me today for Health, Wellness, and Lifestyle. Anthony, I'm super excited to have you on board and our special guest today for Where in the World Are We Going with in the World of Wine with Anthony today. And I'm beyond excited that we're going to be going to Italy today. So a lot of good things to talk about.
Well, today we're going to be visiting the region of Piedmont, which is in northern Italy. And I'm excited to have the owner of Sassaia Winery, Enrico de Alessandrini, who makes amazing wines, and it's great to have him. And he's super knowledgeable, and he's going to give us a little more of the intake of the technical aspect of the wine, and also the romance of the wine, of his land and his properties. So it would be great to see him. If he's on the screen also, I think he's going to come up.
Hi, Enrico. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me today. It's really a pleasure to be with you. Many people often ask, how come I don't have a very pronounced Italian accent?
I was dying to ask you.
The history there is that my father used to be the Italian vice consul in Norfolk, Virginia. So I did all of my schooling except for 4 years in the United States, and I would go back to Italy every summer. Wow. So I studied in the U.S. school system primarily.
Wow. Well, I have to say I'm thrilled today. I mean, I think you're pretty much the first vineyard owner I've ever met. So it's something very new, and a lot of people aren't familiar. So we're beyond excited, and to get at least beginning to become versed in the language of wine today.
Okay, what's amazing is Enrico, even though he has this almost an American, doesn't have any accent. I think, Enrico, why don't you just give a quick greeting to our Italian guest in Italian, because when he speaks Italian, the first time he spoke Italian, I just was like, what? Where did that come from? So if you just want to say hello to everybody in Italian, that would be great, just to hear you speak.
Buongiorno, un piacere essere con voi oggi. Grazie Anthony per questa occasione di farci conoscere. Per noi è un grandissimo onore.
Grazie Enrico. I can say about 5 good Italian words, but that's about it. But Enrico, tell us about the winery, because it's an amazing story, and I love it every time I hear it. So
wonderful. Well, we are in the Piedmont region of Italy, which is northwest, that borders with France. Something that a lot of people don't readily know about Piedmont is that under the House of Savoy, this particular area of Italy was actually part of France. And the seaport was not Genoa, but was Nice. And so a lot of the terroir is very similar in terms of makeup and composition to Burgundy. And that's why oftentimes a lot of wines from Piedmont have a much more similar profile to wines from Burgundy, Burgundy, whereas Tuscany is much more similar to Bordeaux. So our winemaking area has a series of native varietals, and also we have a few international varietals. Something that perhaps a lot of people don't know is there's been a lot of speculation on where winemaking began, and it's been traced back to areas like Georgia, Turkey, and Azerbaijan back to 8000 BC, but there are traces of winemaking in Italy, in this region, and in France that go back to 1000 BC. So,
and there's something significant, sorry to interrupt, even in the name of the vineyard, correct?
Piemonte, the region, is a name which means at foot of the mountain, and Sassaia refers to the fact that the soil is very rocky and a lot of limestone, because Sassaia actually means a rock bed.
It sounds very strong, like powerful, like in a great way, So I'm super excited. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's it's something I wanted to ask.
Well, the other key feature, and this is interesting, it's a differentiation in some ways of New World versus Old World winemaking. In the Old World and in Europe, primarily in Italy and France, and I speak of Italy with greater knowledge, irrigation is not allowed. So typically the more um, uh, difficult the soil, the more the vine suffers and the deeper it goes to get minerals and qualities that then show up in the grape itself. So this area is particularly rocky. Our area has a combination of both white limestone-based soil and red marine clay. And typically, we plant the white grapes in the red marine clay, and in the white, sandy, limestone-based soil, we plant the red grapes.
That's actually pretty interesting. And I was going to ask you my question, but you answered it at the same time. Does the soil must, it must work together to produce the exquisite wine that you produce. So you kind of pretty much answered that question, which I'm dying to learn, from the white to the red. I'm dying to learn about the wine, plenty of others. And again, I can't tell you how excited it is, because it's coming straight familiarly from your mouth. So which is like pretty amazing, to learn. So what do we got today?
I'd like to ask Enrico to speak a little bit about his winemaker that he has.
Yes, what we did is we decided to take somewhat of an innovative approach to winemaking in our area by effectively looking to France. I really liked the wines of this producer in Gervais-Chambertin called Pierre Nugent, who does a lot of organic, zero residual sugar wines. And I was very, very keen on learning more about his processes. He came down and we did a few test trials. And then in 2017, we did our first vintages together. He consulted us and really guided us on how to achieve wines from complex grapes that are more fruity and drinkable younger rather than and can be aged as well, but are approachable sooner. And he basically brought us down a path where there's a very high concentration on the timing of the picking of the grape, so that we don't get it too high in sugar level, where we can depend on natural yeast to consume the sugar and convert it to alcohol and bring it to zero residual. And the other two key components are temperature control, both at reception and harvest, but throughout the vinification process, not to allow the wine to overcook during fermentation, so you don't lose any of that nice mid-fruit and freshness. And then also during the aging, where our barrel room is a temperature-controlled environment, where during the winter we do take it down to about 35 to 40 degrees for the entire winter. And it allows the wine to really go through a natural process and ends up with very, very clear, crisp wines. And the third final component that he really introduced is really a very detailed attention to hygiene in the winemaking process. The filtration of water to make sure that even in the cleansing and cleaning of the barriques, you're not using any waters that have any chlorine or bromine in it, so you don't set off any adverse chemical reactions.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. That's pretty.
Yeah, these are very clean wines, and people in the industry. I know Enrico a while, and he won't say it, but I'll say he's a perfectionist on a lot of things, and he makes his especially the newer vintages of wine. It's a very big deal. Like one of the wines that we sell is the Gavi, which is the white wine that's very popular in the summer. It's basically zero sugar residual and zero carbs, which is insane. Wow. And the wines are very crisp and clean. Even the reds, when you taste them, you get this very crisp and clean feeling. What's great about it is with what's inside the wine, there's not tons of chemicals like a lot of the mass-produced wines that you're going to get headaches and who knows in it.
It's a big concern amongst people, but also because don't forget, we're also talking about lifestyle today. People are living a healthier lifestyle. It includes their wines as well. So it's great to know, to go through the process now as Enrico just did, because in essence, that's what you're getting. So, which is, again, for lack of a better word, it's simply amazing, and it's great. And that's why I'm so happy to highlight and feature it.
Well, one of the nice things about focusing on wines that are lower alcohol and picking them when you have lower sugar levels is effectively that if you can bring a wine down to 0 residual sugar or low sugar, basically less than a gram, you have to use less sulfite to protect the wine, to preserve it. And the main reason is bacteria feeds off of sugar. And if there's no food for the bacteria, then there's less chance for impurities to develop in the wine and the less need for sulfite.
Again, it's like every time you're describing, Enrico, like I'm so excited because, again, it all fits into the health, wellness, and lifestyle. It's in a bottle. So it's perfect,
Yes. And it's the reason why we went down this path. It's, a particular journey. It's taken us a long time. It's fairly expensive to engage because there's a lot more temperature control. We do use solar as a supplement for our consumption, and we use sustainable practices in the vineyard, but it takes time. You have to harvest by hand. You have to make sure also that you're not using any herbicides. You have to spend a lot more time in terms of cutting the grass in between the vines and that sort of thing, but net, you end up with a cleaner, fresher product.
Wonderful. I think is there like some images you can share with us with the whole process or part of what's going on with the different wines?
Yeah, I think what would be interesting is maybe to share with people would be to take a look at actually what a grape looks like during evolution, both for a white and a red. And what I'll do is I will bring up a couple of pictures. Let me just scroll forward. So what I have on the screen, first of all, on the back, in the background of my video camera is a shot of our vineyard that's mainly one of the hillsides that we produce the red grapes on, this white-based soil.
So that's a view of the vineyard, right in your background. I was going to ask you, that's exquisite.
Thank you so much. And what I have here on the screenshot is a Cortese grape, which is a white grape. It's the grape that's used to make Gavi wine. And the reason it's called Cortese is that until the mid-1700s, white wine was the wine of nobility. So because it was a fresher wine and a cleaner, more approachable wine, it was, and being a white wine, it ended up being called grape of the court. And that's why it's called Cortese.
Oh, wow.
But here on the left, you see that it's flowering. And one interesting thing to note is that way back in time, originally, the flowering process would occur when there would be pollination between the plants. About 2 to 3% of the population was hermaphroditic of grapes, and those are the ones that were harvested and eventually were used to build out vineyards. So effectively, the varietals that we have today cross-pollinated at some point, and then the self-pollinating ones were the ones chosen, so that what you end up looking here at the left, on the left is a flowering process where it's self-pollinating itself, and then eventually you get the grape in the middle, and then it comes to full maturity on the right. And you can see the slight difference even in color change from the mid-process to the end, because that's called veraison, when it finally goes to its sugar peak level, and although sugar form, that opaqueness that you see around the grape is actually natural yeast that develops on it.
Wow.
And if you pick it at the right time and at the right sugar level, you can have the wine go through its fermentation process with natural yeast.
It's beautiful to look at. I can just imagine how beautiful it is to taste. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and the Cortese grape has got an interesting, taste profile. It's a very crisp wine. In the way that we make it, it's more able to do a longer bottle aging. So typically, the Gavi has got a cellar life of 3 to 5 years. And the style that we make it, it's closer to 4 to 5. And the reason it tends to age well is that it has a bit higher acidity, so that when you first have the wine and you're drinking it very young, it'll start out with just a little bit of a bitter almond finish, and that will evolve over time and turn in more to a tart lemon and more honeydew as it evolves 8 to 9 months into the aging process. Anthony, any comments on the Gavi that you have?
Gavi to me is one of my favorite white wines. I love it, and a lot of people, some people, if they dine in a lot of Italian restaurants, higher end restaurants, there's always going to usually be a Gavi on the list. And I like to introduce it to a lot of people in Long Island who drink Pinot Grigio. I call it a more exciting Pinot Grigio. And usually when they taste it, they say, wow, this is something. And I think it's a perfect summer wine. It's delicious. It's crisp, especially, I'm going to be partial, obviously, to Sassaia, not only because I sell it and I love it, but it really is just an amazing Gavi. So, and I get the feedback from every tasting I do, which is all over Long Island and Manhattan. And when we pour the wine, people love it. The comment that I hear most, and Faye will know this because I think Faye might have made this comment. I don't drink white wine, but I love this. So.
And I was about to tell you, and
one of the wines that we did.
It's all about. I'm not being obnoxious. Forget about the Pinot Grigio. It's all about the Cortese for me. I don't know. Since I tried, it was pretty amazing.
Well, you must have noble roots back to the mid 1700s, because it was the favorite wine of nobility at the time in Piedmont.
You had me at royal roots, Enrico. So forget you had me with the wine. Now forget it.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, this has got about 12.5% in alcohol, so it's a lower wine. Oftentimes, the white label version, which is our lighter version, is a wonderful palate cleanser because of its acidity, and it's a great wine to start with because you're not immediately reaching for food. It's just really a refreshing summer wine. Next in the lineup I've got for you is an evolution of a red grape. Sangiovese is a grape that typically you find more of in Tuscany. They did some DNA analysis, and its parents are Ciliegiolo and a grape from Calabria that was farmed and vinified in the outskirts of Naples. But what's very interesting is that in the north, the Sangiovese is typically blended more with Barbera. And our black label blend, takes Sangiovese with Barbera and Nebbiolo, and occasionally we add up to about 10% of Cabernet.
And the Sangiovese meaning, what is the meaning of Sangiovese actually?
Sangiovese, the meaning of it is the blood of Jove, and it was named by Italian monks.
Wow.
And so that's how they came up with the name.
I love it.
So here is a bottle shot of the wine. We produce only about 2,200 bottles of this wine a year. So it's a very, very limited niche production for us. Its age profile is very easy to go to 10 plus years. And Sangiovese in purity has a lot of red cherry residual to it, where the Barbera that we'll talk about next is more of a black cherry. And that's a reason why the two often do so well in a combination or a blend.
This sounds literally right up my alley. I'm like falling in love every time like I'm seeing and I'm reading. So this sounds exquisite also.
Well, thank you.
Enrico, just a quick question. When you say the blood of Joe, it's the blood of Jupiter, meaning the god of, in other words, one of the Roman gods back in the day?
Jupiter.
That's unbelievable. So they named it after one of the Roman gods.
That's correct.
That's very interesting.
So we went from royal, now we're talking divine, which is amazing. So, hey, I'm right there. I'm falling in.
Wine is divine, Faye. Wine is the gift of God to the people.
That's right.
There we go. And then in the north, as I said, what we typically do is blend it with Barbera, which here is a picture of the evolution of Barbera. So you can see what's interesting is that the flowers really do look different. So you saw the Sangiovese and the Barbera, and also the grape and the clusters look very different.
Amazing.
But Barbera is a grape that really became predominant in Piedmont, aside from Nebbiolo, and it really took hold as the predominant grape after the phylloxera problem. And in the replantings, it's very resistant, and so it took hold and has its primary presence in Piedmont, Italy.
Wow.
This is a bottle shot of the Barbera Gray Label, which is a Superiore. We only make about 3,600 bottles of this a year.
Well, I mean, just by reading it, what the very essence, it's just another exquisite wine.
Thank you.
So yeah, we'll try. We'll Faye, you'll try all these.
I'm ready right now. And then I could tell you which one. I'm ready to take the plane and head over there. And God knows I'm ready to get out to travel. So no,
well, you must come visit. We have in the background, which is the winery. You may see that it has. We run the hillside runs along a 36-hole golf course and resort. So you can come there and visit us, and then come over for some wine.
Enrico, I'm ready to leave tomorrow, so I get to drink an exquisite wine, and I'll feel royal while I'm there, and then on top of it, I get to get my exercise and fitness and work on my tan at the same time. So
absolutely,
that's
perfect.
Absolutely,
That's perfect. So if anybody would like to buy any of these wines at any time, they can always contact me. They're not in every store. They're limited to a certain level. But we have access to them, in a couple of stores in Long Island and Manhattan and Westchester. So if anybody wants it, they could always reach out or send me an email or call me or go on the Facebook page also on the Vino Fiamma.
Well, Enrico, I know that I'm definitely ready to come and visit. Anthony, I want at least 2 cases. I'm going into Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to go through a lot of bottles. And is it possible if people want to try, listen, before you, I was like, I don't do Pinot Grigio. When you go to me, we're not talking Pinot Grigio, we're taking it a different level. And I was like, whoa. So I definitely want the white, but then I haven't tried the other ones. I'm dying to try them.
You will.
No, I am. So, and if they want to get in touch, they can get in touch with you, and they can place their order and everything, right?
Yes, we'll get it. The new way we do everything is very simple. They can place an order. Yeah. They don't have to see anybody. It gets left right at the foot of their door.
Well, because you're very essential. So whether they label you or not, you're very essential.
I listen. They can joke all they want about in the wine business that. What, is it that important? Yes, it is that important.
No, but Enrico, I have to say today I feel very blessed that you were able to join us. I'm so excited because I've never been to a vineyard, so this is my first taste of a vineyard.
Good.
And I'm I'm Greek, so we say una pazza una razza, and I know my mother made so many trips to Italy, but the trip you took us on today was pretty amazing. Even if I'm not there, I kind of felt like I was. I'm looking at the vines. I wanted to touch it. It's like exquisite. I can just imagine in person. So I thank you so much. And this is just the beginning. I'm looking forward to next time we can get a little bit more in detail, see what questions, what feedback we get. And Anthony can bring us right back into your wine world over there.
Absolutely. Piacere mio. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Faye, and thank you, Enrico. Thank you so much.
Next time we meet, I'm bringing a wine glass, and I'm going to have a bottle with me.
Next time we meet, we're going to see each other soon, so don't worry.
Exactly.
Ciao.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.